It all started in 1986 when I was on a major painting trip and I was using India ink for sketching. The way it's used is you dip an implement into the ink, you sketch with it, there's always a brush in your hand, you hit the line immediately. If you don't hit it immediately, all you've got is a line drawing because it dries out instantly. So I was sketching and turned around to write a note to a friend. And so put down the implement, put the ink out of the way, and took out a piece of paper and started to write the note. Only I picked up a Pilot Razor Point pen. And interestingly, it was just, name was John. It's easy enough. But touched the line with the brush because it was a habit and then said, wait a minute, that ran like India ink. Can I transfer it like India ink from one place to another? Yes. Can I transfer later when it's dry? Now there's something India ink cannot do. Uh, Grab some ink. Yeah, you can transfer it later. Okay, the big one is that D is dry. Will it run? And yes, it will. And that began 3 days of working with one pen, which is why I know that one pen will last 3 days, constant use. And at the end, I knew that I had the perfect bridge into both sketching and into watercolor. And so that's when I began. This is Kath McCauley, and I want to show you how to use your supplies so that you can do this too. Okay, I was supposed to be on picture. This is Kath McCauley. You're supposed to, oh, well, now I am.
I know.
Can you edit that out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kath McCauley, and I invented pocket sketching. Why would you ever do this? What's the difference between this and watercolor, oil painting, and all the rest? Well, it's compact, it's portable, totally portable. You can take it skiing, hiking, biking, to the cafe, you can take it anywhere. It's never messy. There's no smell. You use it quickly and put it away. Nothing else will work like this works. So let me show you some of the equipment so you get an idea of how to do it. And then after that, we'll have some lessons. So let's go so you can see the equipment. I'll put down the brush. And the very first thing I'm going to show you is the pen. This is the Pilot Razor Point. Now, as I mentioned, it'll last 3 days. But the really important thing, put the lid on when you're not using it. If you don't put that lid on, and you can hear it click, if you don't put the lid on, then it'll dry out. Then you're out of bullets. If you have a bunch of these, you can go on a major trip like to Europe. It'll last, you won't go through these very fast. Really, it's a tremendous ink supply. Totally water soluble. There's nothing on the market that works as well as this does for what it will do. So that's the pen. Oh, and by the way, I want you to open your manual. The manual is all about the pen and what it will do and what it won't do. And it does some very unusual things. It is nothing like a ballpoint. So go through the manual. Later, you're going to read it probably in a lot more depth, but at least if you peruse it, you'll have an idea of what the pen will do. The next thing I'm going to show you is the paint set. And I'll show you mine first because this is my field set. It's messy, that's not messy, that's dilute paint. Now I'm going to open a brand new set so you can see how this all is done because opening the paints is slow. To begin with, never open it like this, like an accordion. All the paints will fall out. Not only do the paints fall out, they're half pans. The half pan jacket falls out too. So it's 28 pickup, not 14. The way you open it is you stick it into your stomach. Now I can't do it, I can show you by holding it up here. I can't hold it in my stomach and you see. I'm holding the bottom securely. It's a little more awkward here. It's easy in your stomach. Lift the lid. I still have the bottom. Lift the lid. It may be tight. If you let that come up, everything falls out. You have to pick everything up. So lift the lid. Now, once you have done that, you can put it down. And I'll show you how to open the individual paints. Couple of things first. There's a good serviceable little brush in here. It comes with a tube. Take the tube off to be sure that you can get it off. That was to protect it in shipping. If it falls in that little crack, I used to issue a toothpick to get it out. And then one day it occurred to me, if I shut the lid, what'll happen? It comes right back where you need it. It's a good little brush. We'll tell you more about that at another time. Okay, now let's get into the paints themselves. You were issued a pocket knife. It's a Swiss Army knife. It has other functions, but we're only going to use the knife blade. You slide the knife blade under a label on the paint and pry. Pick the piece of paint up. That's a half pan. Twist it on the knife. The next step, you're going to put it on the table. Don't do this in the air. Put it on the table. Hold the flap aside. Put the knife straight down next to the edge. Slide the knife under the cellophane. Usually this happens very, very easily. And then roll, and it comes apart. Yes, you can do this with your bare fingers, your fingernails. At least pry the paint out. It's very hard to do it with your fingernails. It takes a long time. But if that makes you feel good, do it. I prefer to use the knife. And sometimes I'm slow. Usually I'm just really fast at this. Now, don't worry about these labels. The side of every single half pan has a label on it. So you can just put the little paint back in there. Like that. There you go. Other items on this paint set. Winsor Newton thinks this is a water container. That doesn't hold enough water for anything. You were issued a 35 millimeter film canister. That holds a whole half day worth of water. And if you have one of my bags, you'll have another one. You have both halves of the day covered. Anyway, it holds a whole half day. It's a really good little container. Keep the lid with it. The lid is very, very tight. I have carried them in a purse. I don't recommend it, but I've never had an accident. The paint set itself is inexpensive. The colors are excellent. And I'll tell you one more thing about the colors before I go to why I really use this paint set. You were issued a little color chart. As you're opening them, follow this color chart. The top row is exactly as it is when the paint set came. But under the yellows, put the greens. They're over here. Under the greens, put the blues. That puts all your earth colors over here. There's a major reason for doing this. Your brain will memorize it subliminally. When you drop the set, everything falls out, you put it back in a new order, your brain cannot find the colors where it expects them, and you will spend a whale of a lot of time just trying to find the colors. Don't do that. So with this little color chart, you can lay it on the table while you're working indoors, but when you're ready, notice I put a finger on the paint set to close it. That way it's not, if I tried to close it like this, everything's going to fall out. Put a finger in and close it. You can take a Sharpie pen and write abbreviations for every color. Like in this case, I have Viridian Green here. There's Viridian Green. Sap Green is next. There's Sap Green. That won't wear off for years. And any indelible pen will probably do it, but Sharpies do it very easily. Then you won't need to carry this around for any reason. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you quickly about this paint set. You don't want to do this, but you're going to run into it by accident. I want you to know about it. It ruins the best thing about the paint set. 2 fingers under, thumb on top, pull, and you get more mixing space. That's wonderful, except Winsor Newton thinks you're going to hold it like this. You have to hold the paint set out. You cannot bring it in to your personal space. What this does is negate the whole reason for getting this paint set. Hard to get your thumb back out, by the way. Very uncomfortable. Close that. Now, when you're actually in use with the paint set, it's going to go right next to you in your personal space. One hand manages the paint set and the pad of paper. You can move the pad of paper over so that you have more mixing space. You can hold the pad vertically. You have tremendous, tremendous changes you can do, but stay in your personal space. The minute you get your stuff out like this, people are going to come in like flies, tell you how good or bad they think you are, tell you about their grandmother who painted, and they'll completely distract you. You'll never get anything done. Keep it in your personal space. That's why I use this paint set. The spiral, if it's windy, point the spiral toward the wind. The rest of the time, it doesn't matter where it is. But you can easily access mixing areas here. You can mix anywhere on the paint set, on the far side of every paint, and directly on your paper. The paint set works beautifully because one hand manages everything and you stay in your personal space. Now, I think that just leaves us for one thing left, and that is the pad of paper. The pad of paper works perfectly with the pen, and that's why I use this particular pad. Over any other, it's lightweight. You fold something down when you're not using it, it works perfectly. And that's the equipment. Thanks for coming.
I don't know if you made it.